Our next speaker is a very good friend of mine. He teaches a life-changing course on happiness here at Stanford University. He got his PhD here at Stanford. He's a brilliant man, and he loves basketball, and I think that's why we bonded. So if you could put your hands together for Dr. Fred Luskin.
Well, hi. Thank you, Mike. Mike and I have been friends now for a good number of years. You know, I teach the happiness classes here on campus, and it's a very interesting thing because we see these like delicious young people, but they're not happy enough. Like they're under a lot of stress, and they take things way too seriously, and there's all this pressure on them. And one of the simple things we tell them is exactly as Mike said, like, take a look at your life. Like, you're blessed. Like, you're in one of the top universities in the world, and you've been remarkably successful, and somebody is paying your way here, which is pretty amazing. And like, just smell the coffee. And it turns out that that's true for all of us, which is what's so interesting, you know. And like, I was listening to Mike's little list of, you know, the things, my work is on forgiveness. And one of the big challenges of being a happier person is that life can be very difficult and challenging and painful. And you have to have strategies for dealing with that as well. And, you know, when I was a therapist in training, I remember one of my first supervisors said, Fred, the people you really want to be nervous about, like, don't go in a small room with them alone, which is what therapy is. I'm just telling you, he was like, Fred, be very careful with these people. That's why they have the little buzzer on the wall. Are there people who have no sense of humor? I'm dead serious. You know, people could come in with machine guns. Don't worry about them. But the people without a sense of humor, those are the ones you want to be incredibly careful with. And I've been thinking about that, about its relationship to happiness. And one of the reasons, and this is truthful, why all of us who are wealthy and fed and successful are not happy enough is neurologically we're wired to be miserable. I mean, you know, we have a neurological, biological basis to find problems everywhere we turn, and we're all brilliant at it. No, seriously, like we complain like geniuses. And that is ultimately most of our gifts. You know, we complain to our partners, we complain about our kids, we complain about this, we complain about that. I complain about how crowded Whole Foods is, you know what I mean? No, think about that. You know, you walk into the store, I mean, I complained today I was at Whole Foods, but you walk into the store where up until recently, no human being on the planet could ever get this selection of first-class food. And I have sat there arguing because there's 2 people ahead of me in line. Right? And now that is an incredible gift. I mean, to realize that you're wired so deeply to complain that you can do so even in the midst of such abundance. And I was thinking about, like, why am I not laughing at myself? No, you know, like, here I am, like, I'm in a temple of affluence, and I'm sitting there grim because maybe I'll have to wait 30 more seconds to get out. That's pretty funny. And you know, and I'm really serious. I believe that as much as we were given this neurological underpinning of let's make sure we're not attacked, and let's make sure nothing disappears, and let's make sure everything is safe, we were also given this irony and this ability to see humor in things. and an ability to, a necessary ability to not take ourselves so seriously. You know, you really do think about that at some level, existentially, this life is a disaster. I mean, you end up dead. Right? Every one of you. Guaranteed. Nobody will give you odds, you know what I mean? Like, no bookie will take that. You're ending up dead. So how do we deal with that? A brain that sticks like Velcro to every problem, and you're going to end up dead. So there's got to be other strategies in here called humor, called laughter, called lightness. So a joke. This is my telling of a joke. I was trying to think of like, what's a good joke about like not taking yourself too seriously? So I'm going to tell you a joke. 3 guys die and go to heaven. Okay? This is a going to heaven joke. And they're met at the pearly gates by St. Peter, and St. Peter says hi. I mean, this has nothing to do with any religion with St. Peter. I'm Jewish. I'm just telling you the joke. I don't, you know, St. Peter's not my guy, but I'm happy that he meets people at heaven. That's all good, right? And so 3 guys die. They're greeted. St. Peter says, you know, how you get around heaven depends on how well you treated your partner, your wife. So the first guy comes up like really triumphant and says, well, you know, I was a perfect husband, like perfect, never did anything wrong, like loved her. Maybe I kissed one woman on the cheek, you know, back in Duluth, you know, back in the 50s, you know what I mean? So St. Peter looks at him and says, wonderful. For you, we have a Lamborghini to get around heaven. Okay. Second guy comes up and says, you know, I'm not the first guy. Like, I was good, but not that good. And the St. Peter says, well, tell me a little about it. He does. He said, I had an affair or 2. St. Peter says, thank you very much for being honest. You get a Ford. Okay. So you know, they both got their cars. The third guy comes up looking very tense. You know, he's not a happy boy at all. So St. Peter says, well, you? The guy says, look, you know, I know you know everything, so please don't make me say this. St. Peter says, well, one of the requirements here is you have to like say something. So the guy says, you know, I cheated all the time. I didn't come home, you know, like, I was a philanderer, but at least I loved my wife. I can say that. So St. Peter looks at him very kindly, says, you get a bicycle. Okay. So the 3 of them kind of head out to check out heaven, and the Lamborghini goes, you know, because it's really strong, it goes out to the right. And the other 2 guys are kind of going, at least we got something. And they're together, and they round the first bend, and they see the Lamborghini driver sitting at the side of his car, like crying. And they go up to him and says, what's going on? What's wrong? What happened? Is your car no good? He said, no, I just saw my wife going by on roller skates. So, no, and what I would like to say is we have to figure out some strategies for being okay in a world where you may find your wife on roller skates. Whether it's real or symbolic. Like, we're going to be surprised. You know, we're not going to know. I'm going to tell one very quick story about myself. The first time I got married, which was a very long time ago, the marriage didn't last. No fault of hers. I'm just saying the marriage didn't last. But I was a total hippie. I mean, I owned a vegetarian restaurant in Santa Cruz. I had like hair down to here. I was a total and complete hippie. So we're getting married back east, her parents' backyard, and we want a hippie wedding. So her parents are like, well, okay, it's your wedding. So one of the things we wanted was a total vegetarian, healthy, like food thing. So her parents did the best they could. This was a long time ago. This is like 30 years ago. You couldn't go to Whole Foods, you know? So They ended up getting a tasteless carrot cake for us and like spongy like stuff. But okay, so we got the wedding that we want and the food that we wanted. And we're looking around and neither of our parents seem tense about the fact that they have nothing that they can eat. So, okay, we thought they're just very generous. So the wedding ends. She and I are about to go out to wherever it is we're going for our honeymoon, but we don't leave right away. And her parents are trying to get us out. Like, don't you think you should go? It's like time to go. And we're not in any hurry. So about an hour, maybe 45 minutes after the wedding ends, there's a ringing of the doorbell. And you can see her parents getting tense. And we go to pick up the doorbell, and there's this guy with this enormous tray of meat that both of our parents together had ordered, like roast beef, pastrami, tongue, the most grotesque things, and they're going to chow down as soon as we're gone on real food. That's life. Thank you very much.